All right. Back in her hometown of Detroit, our second hero was heavy into online poetry parties. She used to spend long hours at her computer surfing in search of a poem she knew in her heart must exist, but could never confirm. Many nights and bottles of wine were lost this way until she came across a website with runes that were laid out like lines of poetry. The more she concentrated on them, the more they resolved into readable words. As she read them aloud, she found herself transported to a midnight glade, a circle of stones inside a circle of trees, where she was confronted by the ancient Madonnas. Having read the sacred words, she proved herself one of their lineage and was gifted with their powers. The ability to assume other forms, especially those of trees and common objects. The ability to speak any language, regardless of having heard it before. And on rare nights, where poets and appreciators of poems gather, the ability to grant wishes. She used to say she was cooler on the internet, but now her true self is revealed. She is the Blue Madonna, Christine Bettis.
Thanks, Tim. It was really good. All right, I'm going to read some poems. After the flood. You stood stunned and alone on the dock while the boat's red light projected your losses onto your face, made them obvious, cardinal, alive. And you didn't know quite what to do or say to feel less defeated. And what you couldn't tell then was this: you would remain defeated. Then the fog ate you, a sepulchral monument for the lovers to pass through, clutching their bags of stone fruit. Their hearts were neither given nor lost in that moment. What a mild persecution, you thought. The withholding of offerings, the refusal to exchange bitters and wildness. And that is the wrong knife, you thought, for those fat plums. Of course, all was bent in that light, carmine, unkind, illusory. You would have crawled into an underbelly and slept through seasons had there not been so much work to do. Had you not had to give yourself a good talking to, a long winter's worth. Let there be nothing inside your head except visions of real women taking pleasure in real redemption. But what about that wrong knife in that fat plum? And just who was bleeding out? The swim. Not here. The cliffs are terrifying. There, thinking about the people she will never be on a boat with, she jumps off your moving boat. The flat bottoms of clouds edge her quest in her head. Groves and a remote bus station. There every wave mutes at her gaze. She sets red poppies over her eyes and disappears into private waters, ignoring all your warnings. She'll unimage only the sea. Islands, I don't get them. A serpent effect near the mouth of the well, with fallen turquoise trees at the top of the water, she is once again a swimmer, brushing up against objects. Floating, she studies the flight of the magpie. It is fluid and unreal, like a film, dream, or self. Coming to an oasis, on the water spreads a darker shade of blue, as the clouds roll over and mirror the power of the laying on of hands. She pauses and thinks hard before touching the shore. Water fearing. The year began ominously, fossilized in a solar eclipse. Then the freeze was over, but the land remained unchanged, and a vital part of the passing year was gone. Its leaving resigned the heart. Our passive awareness of the hidden springs of our actions, liquid so pitched and sulfurous we collect it and use it to write, of patience and silence and our attitudes toward fate. Gravina. On the edge of a steep ravine, you who give me laughter, verdant solace, and my favorite joy, carve our city out of limestone, a labyrinth above buried relics, the silver lungs of heretics, hearts, livers, and legs, and the earth remains between us and them. We thank them for their healing, light votives for their grief. My eyes are astral and almost sickly. Your halo depends on the hour and weather. Both believe the sky's silences, that they are pure, though they reveal hardships too, like the indifferent silence of black Madonnas. You are beautiful like them, flesh and blood like me. Tracing circles with a sickle in the mud, pacing the fountain until and through storms, reciting vows from which heavy, ripe fruits are born. This brings seasons. We scatter our laments on the surfaces of all waters, caught by statues of girls holding bowls that never stop dripping. The sound of dripping water is release. It slips autumnally between our ears. White are the bad omens in our dreams. Your last chance at happiness walks away from you in dream snow through thickets of drooped wings. Our revivals are sculpted, each a portal, opulent. Construction takes years. Echoes and offerings transport through aisles invisibly while our backs arch to vault, hit every flourished point in the windows. We can't see the sea from here, but we trust that when the sun hits the water, good health shimmers in the green ray, in a lizard's tail growing back, in two gray doves mating drastically above our heads. People will study and judge our city and think, dramatics, and I won't leave evidence to tell them that every day there with you was a good thing. Nightly, we lifted our hands to the sky and took pictures and hid them with our children and with our mineral dead. This last poem I'm going to read is not mine. It was written by Bridget Pagine Kelly, a great poet, and news actually just broke yesterday that she died. So I thought we could collectively honor and remember her with one of her poems. It's called The Hill by Bridget Pagine Kelly. When the dog barks at nothing, when the heat lightning makes its phantoms in the sky, those who are passing wearing their robes, even they have their hungers. Then you by the gate have no power to harm me. I shall go out as the crickets do with the frost, letting their lake of sound thin to ice. I shall go out and this field will no longer be mine, where one poplar stands and the archer's target draws the night's invisible arrows down, draws down the stars. They fall into the target as into the sea, and so we are born, and so shall die, on this hill or elsewhere, and pass over this hill or elsewhere, lighting the sky when it is hot, and the flesh remembers its songs. I will trust the dream. My son holds the arrow in his hand, holds time to its target and its grief, and time like lightning will split the shaft, leaving this land to others and him to me. Thank you.